I love welcome. We're glad you're here with us. And we are going to wrap up our series on follow-up. And, I don't even know who originally said it, but the fortune is in the follow-up. And if you read my reminder today, the question was, are we really following up in a way that represents that we believe that statement? If we believe the fortune is in the follow-up, are we really following up in a way that represents that statement? And I know personally, I go, and my guess is you guys too, through seasons where I do a great job and seasons when I don't. But this has been our focus for 3 weeks now. And this week, let's bring it home and let's see what kind of, I want you guys, I don't care how you track it, but I want you guys to track how many people you followed up with this week. And let's report back next week and let's really make follow-up be our focus. I'm going to share my screen with you and we're going to finish. I read the book on follow-up and it gave some great ideas, but it also kind of perked some new thoughts and new ideas as I read the book on follow-up. And we're going to talk about them here today as we finish up. How many of you guys you've been in this process of following up, if you're like me, and then I let a little bit of time go by and that progression that I was making with that prospect just seems to come to a screeching halt? Has anybody experienced that?
Yes.
And then it's kind of like, you're like, I don't even know where to begin. It'll be kind of weird if I hadn't talked to him in a month and now I'm, trying to pick back up on that follow-up process, which I think is why it's really good for us to really stay focused on follow-up with people and not let that ball drop, because when it drops, it's a whole lot harder to get back into the groove. But as I was thinking, I was reading a little bit about this. He talked a little bit about it in the book, but then as I thought about it, I started adding some things to it. So let's hone in on, think of those people who they're not on your hot hands list really anymore. It's almost like they've gotten cold. How do I revive them and get them back on my hot hands list? So he first talked about don't shame them. And I think a lot of times, let's say we've sent them a link to watch something or listen to something, and we call them, and what do we hear? Oh no, I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. I think our tendency is to shame them almost. He was talking about this in the book. What do you mean you haven't listened to it? It's been over 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but he talked about figuring out a way to agree with them. So let's just say you call someone, hey, did you have a chance to listen to Meet Your Ray, the new brain? Let's just talk about the new brain health study. Instead of kind of leaning toward what we want to do is that shaming, why haven't you, what's the deal, is find out a way to get in agreement with them. Because when you get on a topic that you can agree with someone, I'm telling you, it can flip the conversation and really turn it into a much better situation versus making them feel bad that they haven't listened to whatever we sent them. How do you turn that around and agree with them? And just maybe it's by the next thing when they haven't listened, just say, oh my gosh, what's been going on? What have you been into? And hear from them and find a way to understand and be sympathetic why they haven't listened to it. And I think that agreement with them, it gets you in a better place with them versus making them feel bad to try to get them to listen to it. So try to get in agreement in any way you can, get in agreement with them and let them take that guilt of not doing what you wanted them to do or the disappointment. We don't want them feeling that. The next thing is, when it comes to this progression, don't rush it. And I've seen this and heard this and felt this and even done it in myself is, come on, let's get with the program, get on Juice Plus. Let's, you get weary of continuing to send them what they need, but they're just not ready. So figuring out and asking those questions to figure out why they're not ready instead of rushing it. Dig deep, get curious to figure out why are they not in. Maybe we're not on the topic that is important to them. We truly, if they're not moving along, we haven't found their need yet. And so circling back around and begin asking those questions to find out what their hot button is. The next thing is, and he talked about this, and I've seen this happen before where we get annoyed. So we just kind of slam the door with them. Done with you, I'm moving on. And sometimes there does come a point where we have to take them off our hot hands list, put them back on our memory jogger and circle back around. But I think a lot of times we close the door a little too quickly. And so let's not close that door too quickly. Who was it? I think it was Edie was talking about following Karen's suit. I think your number 6 times before you put them back on the memory jogger list. Is that right, Karen? You connect with them 6 times?
No, I generally do it like 4.
4 times.
4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they go back on your memory jogger list. Okay. So don't close the door too soon. And even if you have to put them back on the memory jogger list, here I got to put a plug in for systems. We have to have a system, because what happens if you don't have a system and the progression has slowed, many times they just go away. But if you have a system, you can put them back on your memory jogger, move someone new to the hot hands list, but you haven't lost them. And I'm going to give you an example of not losing someone because you have a system. This morning I was out walking and I ran into a customer of mine maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And she was never a really faithful taker of Juice Plus, but she just kind of fell by the wayside. I'd follow back up, trying to get her to renew her order. But you know what just happened? She is on my memory jogger list. I saw her again. And you know what I did as soon as I got back? I added her back to my hot hands list. Why is that? It's because I made that connection again, a natural connection and she said, "What are you doing these days?" I said, I'm still working my Juice Plus. What are you doing? And so I've put the seed back out there. And so having a system when the progression does slow down, that you don't lose them, but you can always bring them right back up when there's an opportunity to get them back on your hot hands list. Another thing they talked about was finding common ground with people. When we have common ground, then it's easy to kind of go back to them and pull them back in, get them back on the hot hands list. What was the conversations you'd had with them in the beginning that kind of led you to the Juice Plus conversation? And so finding that common ground again, bringing it back up, it allows you to get back in conversation with them and get them back in that hot hands loop and being able to continue connecting with them. The next thing he talked about was listening for the next steps. So if you find that common ground, it allows you to connect with them again, pull them back into that more frequent connection, and then listen for what is your next step with them. So what would be my next step with Karen? As I walked away, I was thinking about, okay, how can I pull her back in and get her back on track with Juice Plus? And the first thing I thought about is I've made the connection. I need to have, we try to have an event, a live event, and I can invite her over to my house for an event because I've seen her, I've made that connection. She's a empty nester now. She said she quit work. So immediately when she said she quit work, I thought she's looking for something to do. I may maybe ask her to lunch and talk to her about Juice Plus, see if maybe she's interested in being a partner. And so finding the common ground, listening for your next step, and literally, I went to my system and I wrote in there my ideas of how I want to reconnect with her and pull her back in. The next thing, follow through on that next step. So now it's up to me to make sure I do that next step with her, invite her to an event, invite her to coffee, and continue this re-engagement process. And be patient, you guys. I think of one customer of mine, he's been a customer now for about 15 years, I would say, but probably for, I think, almost 7 years, every time we saw each other or talked to each other, he always asked me about Juice Plus. You talk about a long process. And then finally it hit him. We don't know where people are and what's going to trigger them to make a move. But if we are staying connected with them, we are the first people they call. And I'll never forget him calling and saying, all right, I'm ready for us to get on Juice Plus. I said, I couldn't believe, I said, 7 years I've talked to you about Juice Plus. What took you so long? And we laughed about it, but he knew who to call because I was there. So there may not be progression. We want to try to get that process going again, but sometimes they just have to go back on our memory jogger list. But be patient with them and have a system to be able to capture that and get them back. And don't give up. Wait it out. Pull those memory, when we work on our hot hands list, that 10 to 15 names of people we're going to connect with that week, some have to go off. If it's Karen 4 times, she's ready to put them back and bring a new person on. That's good, because we don't want to keep wasting time when there's other people that need to hear about it, but we don't want to lose those connections. And so don't give up, wait it out. Sometimes you have to put them back on the hot hands or off the hot hands list, but have a system so you don't lose anybody. The next thing that he talked about was this automatic process. Now, I'd never really thought about this before, but it was really a cool idea. And I read about it, and then I tried to think of ways that applied for us. In his process, some of his ideas to me was a little intrusive, so I didn't throw them in there, but the idea was good. In that when I'm having a conversation with somebody, what are those little nuggets? And as my husband would say, those little burrs under the saddle that I can say that will keep Juice Plus top of mind to them. And one is figuring out their need and then talking about it. Sometimes people have a need, but they won't do anything about it. But the sheer conversation that I'm having will kind of put that burr under their saddle that you've acknowledged with them their need, and Juice Plus is what it takes to that can help that need that they have. Maybe it's sharing compelling stories with them. Maybe I have a story, and this is where you want to have great stories to share with them about people who've overcome particular issues that people have. Whether it is being really diligent to listen to and get on all the Zoom calls that we have, and you're going to hear stories that you can relate to. Tonight we have our event tonight, and it's all about moms, young kids, the children's health study, and the impact that Juice Plus has on our children at all ages. You're going to hear 3 great stories. You're going to hear from Allison Hodges. You're going to hear from Jacqueline off of Karen's team. What's Jacqueline's name, Karen?
Sabatka.
And then we're also going to hear from, oh my gosh, my name just went blank.
Erin Vogelson.
Aaron, thank you. I don't know why I had Victoria in my name. Aaron, yay, Aaron. And I've not heard Jacqueline's story. I've heard Allison's and Aaron's. They're phenomenal. And I know Jacqueline's going to be phenomenal. You're going to walk away with 3 compelling stories that you will have to share with other people. And so be on the call tonight and get people on this call tonight to hear compelling stories. When you share those compelling stories, you've automatically put a thought in someone's mind. People don't forget stories. And that automatic thought is going to keep rolling around in your prospect's head. Mention that our products benefits. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, I want to talk about what Juice Plus is, but even more importantly, we got to talk about the benefits. Bring up the consequences that when we don't focus on our health and be proactive about our health. Back to stories, compelling stories here, that the consequences. And then lastly, focus on simple solutions. And what we're doing is we're triggering thoughts in their brain that are gonna automatically be on a loop that hopefully will bring them back to us and get them to the point that they're ready to purchase Juice Plus and get started on Juice Plus. So think about automating the process based on these 5 areas of what we can do when talking with prospects. And then the last thing that I want to process with on this whole follow-up, how a lot of times, and we talked about this in week 1, fear will hold us back from maybe following up because we're a little unsure of where we stand with that person. If you're kind of like gun shy, maybe you've just gotten slammed down by someone and you're a little gun shy. A way that we can do this with no rejection connections is we can do this by reaching out via email, text message, regular mail. And it's a soft touch. It's a soft follow-up touch. So maybe we send them something. We know what their issues are because we have a system where we're writing down when we connect with people what that conversation looks like. So I know what the problem is. So maybe I find an article or a link to some kind of information or videos that have testimonies on it or resource documents or a new research study or a newsletter. What can I send that will provide value to that prospect? It's a soft and unintrusive touch point with them. So you think, okay, maybe I'm feeling a little weird, like I've called them, I've invited them, I've texted them. And just a soft approach by providing value. It may just be whole food related. It may not even be Juice Plus specific. But what you're doing is letting them know you're thinking about them and you're providing value. I go back to what Brenda Proctor said, it's the plus in Juice Plus. How can I provide plus to those prospects? The next thing is just sending them a text, staying in touch. Hey, I was thinking about you. I saw XYZ. Doesn't even necessarily have to have anything to do with Juice Plus, but you thought about them. You're keeping your name, your face in front of them. And when they're ready, they know who to contact. I'd love for you to join me at this event or come to my house for a glass of wine. Or did you know, hey, I just heard this. I just saw that. That thinking of them text goes a long way because what we're doing is we are building and creating relationships, and we are in a relationship business, and connecting is the way that we do it. And then lastly, maybe mailing a gift. I went back to several of my customers who had soy issues. And so I ordered a whole thing of soy shakes. And I'm literally just sending them to those customers who I know wanted shakes, but couldn't drink soy. So who do you know? There's a great thing to send out, a packet of soy shakes. Maybe it's a little certificate. You know, maybe someone's been a customer for 5 years, a certificate to, you know, to some kind of gift certificate to some place, or just a small gift that you're thinking about them. How can I follow up and be unique and creative in a way that keeps the lines of communication open through my follow-up process? So this week, here's the challenge. How many follow-ups can I make this week? Someone tell me, someone give me some ideas of how. I take that back. Give me a goal. Tell me your goal. How many follow-ups are you going to do this week?
Well, I personally am going to do a lot. I already have been, because I'm really excited about the call tonight. I want to say 2 things about that. First of all, we're going to be talking about all the changes with the Children's Health Study that are all good. They're incredible changes that people can get back on and still put their kids back on. And the other thing that came to me through your whole talk today, Elaine, was the scripture about let's not get tired of doing good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessings if we don't give up. That's Galatians 6:9. So my goal right now today is I have 13 people to follow up to invite, making sure they've got everything they need for tonight.
I love that, Brenda. And you're right. Think of how to me, a connection, the easiest connection is to invite someone to an event. Absolutely. The easiest invitation is such a great way to bring someone back into that follow-up loop. So, you know, would anyone want to go for 50? 25. How many people will commit to 25? I feel like I'm an auctioneer. Let's say 25. We'll say 25. Look at Brenda. She's going to do 12 today, inviting to the call. I mean, you're halfway there on day 1, Brenda. But I agree 100%. Today's call is going to make it so easy. Let's go. Let's shoot for 25 and a BHAG. Big. What was that?
Hairy,
Big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah. So let's go for a BHAG of 50, but a minimum of 25 this week. I mean, 5 a day, that's easy. BHAG 50, minimum 25. Let's do the follow-ups. I guarantee you, if you start digging deep, look, Karen said, I got 18 so far already. I guarantee if we go digging deep in following up and connecting with people, we're going to get some customers this week. So let's all commit to 25 at a minimum, 50 BHAG, and use our call tonight to really jumpstart our week toward that goal. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.